Joffrey Baratheon. Oh man, where do we even start with this little psychopath? Joffrey spent 3 seasons being the most hateable character on television, and that's saying something in a show full of terrible people. He orders Ned Stark's execution, tortures prostitutes for fun, and basically makes everyone's life miserable just because he can. So when he starts choking on poisoned wine at his own wedding, turning purple and clawing at his throat, it's hard not to feel a little satisfaction. The irony is perfect. The boy king who loved watching others suffer dies in front of everyone, gasping for air while his mother holds him. Even his death face is annoying, but hey, at least he's finally quiet. Tywin Lannister, the man who orchestrated the Red Wedding, destroyed entire houses for slights against his family, and terrorized Westeros for decades. Tywin thought he was untouchable, sitting on his golden throne, pulling everyone's strings. But Tyrion had enough. After years of abuse and humiliation, after being blamed for things that weren't his fault, Tyrion finds his father in the most undignified place possible, the privy. "You're no son of mine," Tywin says, and Tyrion responds with a crossbow bolt to the chest. The great Tywin Lannister, who spent his life obsessing over his family's legacy, dies taking a dump. The symbolism writes itself. Ramsay Bolton. This guy made Joffrey look like a saint. Ramsay was pure evil wrapped in human skin, and his death couldn't come fast enough. He tortured Theon, raped Sansa, fed people to his dogs, and seemed to enjoy every second of it. So when Sansa feeds him to his own hound, it's poetic justice at its finest. Your words will disappear. Your house will disappear. Your name will disappear. All memory of you will disappear, she tells him. And she's right. The man who loved inflicting pain dies in agony, eaten alive by the same dogs he used to terrorize others. Sansa walking away with that little smile? Chef's kiss. Walder Frey, the bitter old man who orchestrated the Red Wedding because he felt disrespected. Frey held grudges like they were family heirlooms, and his pettiness cost thousands of lives. When Arya shows up disguised as a serving girl, you know something's about to go down. She reveals she's been feeding him pies made from his own sons, then cuts his throat with the same viciousness he showed the Starks. Tell them the North remembers. Tell them winter came for House Frey. The whole scene is Arya channeling her inner Sweeney Todd, and it's absolutely perfect. Walder finally pays for his betrayal, and House Frey gets wiped off the map. The High Sparrow. This religious fanatic thought he could manipulate kings and queens, impose his twisted version of morality on everyone, and hide behind his faith. He humiliated Cersei, tortured Loras, and basically held King's Landing hostage with his fundamentalist nonsense. So when Cersei blows up the Sept of Baelor with wildfire, taking out the High Sparrow and all his followers in one move, it's incredibly satisfying. The man who preached about sin and redemption gets vaporized before he can even blink. Sure, Cersei's methods were extreme, but watching that smug look get wiped off his face? Worth it. Meryn Trant, a member of the Kingsguard who spent his time beating up little girls and following orders from psychopaths. Trant was a coward who only picked on people weaker than himself, and when Arya finds him in a Braavosi brothel, justice is served cold. She gouges out his eyes, stabs him repeatedly, and makes sure he knows exactly who's killing him. "My name is Arya Stark. Do you know who you are? You're no one. You're nothing." The man who helped destroy her family dies alone and afraid, which is exactly what he deserved. Lysa Arryn, Ned Stark's sister-in-law who was completely unhinged and obsessed with her creepy son Robin. She murders her own husband, lies to start a war, and tries to kill Sansa out of jealousy. When Littlefinger pushes her out the moon door, it's almost anticlimactic because she had it coming for so long. "Your sister," Littlefinger tells her right before she falls, revealing that he never loved her. Lysa falls screaming through the clouds, and honestly, good riddance. The woman who helped kick off the War of Five Kings gets exactly what she deserved. Alliser Thorne, the Night's Watch officer who made Jon Snow's life hell from day one. Thorne was bitter, cruel, and couldn't get over his grudges even when the fate of the world was at stake. He leads the mutiny that kills Jon, thinking he's saving the Watch from a traitor. When Jon comes back from the dead and executes him, Thorne doesn't even show remorse. He goes to his death convinced he was right, which makes it even more satisfying. "I fought. I lost. Now I rest." Yeah, rest in pieces, buddy. Myranda, Ramsay's psychotic girlfriend who enjoyed torturing people almost as much as he did. She threatens Sansa, helps Ramsay with his sick games, and seems to get off on other people's pain. When she's pointing a bow at Sansa and Theon, you know something bad is about to happen. Then Theon finally finds his courage and pushes her off the castle wall. Myranda falls to her death, and honestly, it's about time. She chose to enable a monster, and she paid the price for it. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments which Game of Thrones death gave you the most satisfaction. Trust me, there are plenty more where these came from. Ollie. Look, I get it. He's just a kid whose parents were murdered by wildlings. But man, this little guy made some seriously bad choices. He helps murder Jon Snow, the one person trying to save everyone from the White Walkers. all because he couldn't see past his own anger. When Jon executes him along with the other mutineers, Ollie's last act is to give Jon this hateful stare. "Kid, you literally stabbed your Lord Commander in the heart. What did you expect was going to happen?" The little hangman's noose couldn't come fast enough. Carl Tanner, this Night's Watch mutineer, thought he was hot stuff after he killed Lord Commander Mormont. "I was a fucking legend in Gin Alley," he keeps saying. Like anyone cares about his street cred. He's holding hostages, drinking wine from Mormont's skull, and basically acting like he owns the place. When Jon Snow shows up and puts a sword through his head, it's beautiful. Carl dies mid-boast, and his legend dies with him. Krasny's Mo Naklos, the slave master who thought he could manipulate Daenerys and steal her dragon. This guy spends entire scenes insulting her in Valyrian, calling her names and treating her like she's stupid. Little does he know, she speaks Valyrian fluently and has been planning his downfall the whole time. When she reveals she understands every word he said and orders Drogon to Dracarys his smug face off, it's one of the most satisfying moments in the series. The slaver becomes the burned, and Daenerys frees thousands of Unsullied in the process. The Sons of the Harpy, these masked cowards spend seasons terrorizing innocent people in Meereen, killing freedmen and former slaves who just wanted to live their lives. They hide behind masks and attack in groups because they're too cowardly to face anyone in open combat. So when Drogon shows up in the fighting pit and starts barbecuing them, it's pure catharsis. Watching these terrorists run screaming as a dragon reduces them to ash? Septa Unella, the religious fanatic who forced Cersei to do the walk of shame through King's Landing. "Shame, shame, shame," she kept saying, ringing that bell like it was the most important job in the world. Well, Cersei has a long memory, and an even longer list of people who wronged her. When she gets her revenge trapping the Septa in the dungeons with the Mountain, it's poetic justice. "Shame," Cersei says as she pours wine on the Septa's face. "Shame." The torturer becomes the tortured, and for once, Cersei's cruelty feels justified. Randyll Tarly, Sam's abusive father who spent years telling his son he was worthless and weak. This guy threatened to kill Sam, disowned him, and generally made his life miserable just because Sam wasn't the warrior he wanted. When Daenerys gives him the choice to bend the knee or die, his pride gets the better of him. He chooses death rather than submit to a foreign queen, and Drogon turns him into barbecue. The Night King, the ultimate big bad who spent 8 seasons building up his army of the dead and marching south to destroy all life. This guy turned babies into White Walkers, raised the dead as his soldiers, and basically wanted to turn the world into one giant graveyard. So when Arya comes out of nowhere and stabs him with that Valyrian steel dagger, ending the long night in one move, it should have been the most satisfying death in the series. The execution was a bit rushed, sure, but the symbolism was perfect. Death incarnate gets killed by a little girl who spent years learning to be no one. There you have it, the most satisfying deaths in Game of Thrones. These characters had it coming, and when they finally got their comeuppance, it felt like justice was served. The show taught us that actions have consequences, even if it takes a while for them to catch up with you. If you've got other villains whose deaths made you cheer, drop them in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more breakdowns of your favorite shows. Winter came for all these characters, and honestly, they deserved it.